Good day, learners! Welcome to Science 10 Lessons. I am Ma'am Arlene P. Gamuza, your science teacher. In this session, we are going to discuss the different parts of male and female reproductive systems. Also, we are going to look into how feedback mechanism works in female reproductive system. So, buckle up and let's explore together. As you have learned from your previous grade level, reproductive system is involved in sexual reproduction. So it occurs when the sperm from the male parent fertilizes an egg from the female parent, and it produces an offspring that is genetically different from both parents. So we are examples of the product of sexual reproduction. In this slide, we could see the male reproductive system with its parts labeled. Okay? So it is found in the pelvic region composed by external parts like the penis and the testes, and we have its internal parts. So the testes is here. Okay, it is enclosed by a sac called the scrotum. It regulates the temperature of the testes to 35 degrees Celsius. This temperature is necessary because it will later be useful for the formation of sperm cell. So, the sperm cell is naproproduce dito siya sa testes ng male. Aside from the production of sperm cells, so the testes is also responsible for the production of testosterone. So the testosterone is necessary for the formation of secondary characteristics in male. So katulad ng pagkakaroon ng Adam's apple, yung pagkakaroon ng broad shoulders. So those are among the secondary characteristics developed during the male puberty age. Then we have here the epididymis behind the testes. It serves as the storage facility for the sperm cell, and it is connected to the vas deferens. This one. Okay, so yung vas deferens, it serves like a highway for the sperm cell, so before ejaculation. The ejaculatory duct is formed through the union of the vas deferens and the seminal vesicle found here at the base of the bladder. So the seminal vesicle produces nutritious molecules such as the fructose, which will give energy to the sperm as it travels through the female's vagina. Aside from those structures, the male reproductive system is consist of accessory structures like the prostate gland and the bulboretral gland. So this walnut-sized structure here, the prostate gland, is found just below the urinary bladder. So it is composed of 20 to 30 lobes which opens individually into the urethra. So ano yung trabaho niya? It produces fluid called the prostatic fluid, which is whitish in color, which makes up 30% of the total volume of the semen. So yung fluid na yan, it will neutralize the acidity of the vagina during coitus or mating. Kasi nga, yung vagina ng babae is naturally acidic. So kapag hindi siya ma-neutralize, it may cause the death of the sperm cell at hindi na siya makakaabot into the egg cell para ma-fertilize yung egg. On the other hand, the bulboretral gland or the Cowper's gland, this pea-sized structure here is located exactly below the prostate gland. It produces slippery fluid which is clear and it empties into the urethra. This fluid neutralizes the acid which might be present in the urethra. Kasi nga itong urethra, daanan din siya ng ihi. Okay, so pag hindi yan man-neutralize, maaring mamatay din yung sperm kapag dumaan siya. So this fluid also serves as a lubricant for the passage of the sperm cell. The urethra is integrated in the most prominent structure of the male reproductive system, which is the penis. The tip of the penis is called the glans penis, which is enclosed by a foreskin. The penis basically delivers the semen or the sperm cell into the female's vagina during coitus or mating. So those are the basic parts and function of the male reproductive system. Now, what is the importance of male reproductive system? Okay, so it is important to produce, maintain, and transport sperms and protective fluid, to discharge sperms within the female's reproductive tract, and lastly, to produce and secrete sex hormones to maintain the male reproductive system. Sometimes, diseases and disorders related to male reproductive system develops. So, here are some examples of those. First, we have the prostate cancer, which is one of the most common types of cancer. So, when we say cancer, we are referring to the uncontrolled growth and divisions of the cell. So, many prostate cancer grow slowly and are confined to the prostate gland where they may not cause serious harm. However, while in some types of prostate cancer grow slowly and may need minimal or even no treatment, other types are progressive and can spread quickly. And also, pag hindi siya naagapan, maka-cause siya ng death among men. Other example is the testicular cancer. So, medyo rare siya compared to prostate cancer. Okay. Testicular cancer is highly treatable even when cancer is spread beyond the testicle. So, depending on the type and stage of the testicular cancer. So, men may receive one of several treatments or a combination. Next is the enlarged prostate or the benign prostatic hyperplasia, common condition as men get older. So, yung pag-enlarge ng prostate can cause uncomfortable urine symptoms such as blocking of urine flow out of the bladder. It can also cause bladder, urinary tract, or kidney problems kapag hindi siya naagapan. Next, we have prostatitis, which is the swelling and inflammation of the prostate gland. Okay. So, sometimes it often causes painful or difficult urination. So, prostatitis affects men of all ages but tends to be more common in men 50 or younger. Next, we have erectile dysfunction or impotence. So, it is the inability to get and keep an erection firm enough for sex. Okay, next we have male infertility. Sometimes male infertility can be caused by low sperm production, abnormal sperm function, or blockage that prevent the delivery of the sperm. Yung illnesses, injuries, chronic health problems, lifestyle choice, and other functions, makakontribute din siya to male infertility. So, we have here the female reproductive system. So, meron tayong side view saka front view. So, yung reproductive system ng female is also located in the pelvic region. Behind niya, yung part ng large intestine, the rectum, then the anus. So, the female reproductive system have pairs of ovary. Then, it has a tube on both sides, which serves as the passageway of the egg cell through the uterus. In the uterus, it is the cavity where the fertilized egg will be implanted. Then, yung sa sides niya, it has a lining called the endometrium. Then, it has an opening, the cervix, that divides the uterus and vagina. Itong vagina, this is the part of the female reproductive system which will receive the male penis during mating. Here we have the importance of female reproductive system. So it enables women to produce eggs, have sexual intercourse, protect and nourish a fertilized egg until it is fully developed, and give birth. Common diseases and disorders in female reproductive system includes but are not limited to the following. So we have the ovarian cancer, wherein the cells multiply quickly and can invade and destroy healthy body tissues in the ovary. So this is actual picture of an ovary with cancer cells. Next, we have cervical cancer, a type of cancer that occurs in the cells of the cervix. So, various strains of human papilloma virus or HPV, a sexually transmitted infection, play a role in causing most cervical cancer. When exposed to HPV, the body's immune system typically prevents the virus from doing harm. Kaya medyo hindi siya napapansin kasi pag nasa early stage pa siya, walang masyadong discomfort na nararamdaman. But as it progress, kay kumakalat yung virus, kay doon na nakikita yung pagkakaroon ng cervical cancer. Okay, you can reduce your risk of developing cervical cancer by having screening tests and receiving a vaccine that protects against HPV, which is available na sa mga health center. Okay, next we have menstrual cramps. So, yung pagkakaroon ng napakasakit na period or we call the dysmenorrhea. Okay, many women have menstrual cramps just before and during their menstrual periods. Then we have the premenstrual syndrome or the PMS. So these are symptoms of PMS. So having acne, back pain, bloated abdomen, craving for food, constipation, crying spells, fast heartbeat, feeling irritable, feeling tired, headache, hot flashes, joint pain, mood swings, tender breast, trouble constipation, swollen hands, wanting to be alone, and weight gain. Sa iba, they could manage their premenstrual syndrome, pero sa iba, medyo malala konti kasi hindi nila na ma-manage. Next, we have the endometriosis. So, endometriosis happens when the lining of the uterus or the endometrium is not developed properly here. Okay, supposed to be the endometrium is within the uterus dito, nasa lining siya na uterus. Pero ang nangyayari when someone has endometriosis, the endometrium is developed outside. Yan. And during menstruation, nagsished din siya. So, kaya lang, ang problema, when it sheds, it has no way to go out. Wala siyang exit point. So, ang nangyayari, nagiging or nadidevelop siya into cyst. Okay. And sometimes, it irritates the surrounding tissue, eventually developing scar tissue and adhesion. Sometimes, nagbaband yung fibrous tissue niya doon sa pelvic tissue and causes organs to stick together. So, endometriosis can cause pain, sometimes severe, especially during menstrual periods. So, fertility problems may also be developed kapag mayroong endometriosis. Pero fortunately, merong effective treatments naman na available for endometriosis. Next, we have the pelvic inflammation disease or the PID. It is an infection of the female reproductive system. Most often occurs when sexually transmitted bacteria spread from your vagina to your uterus, fallopian tube, and ovaries. So, ito. Okay, so, can cause infertility or an ectopic pregnancy kapag nagkaroon ng pelvic inflammation disease. Treatment includes antibiotics and surgery. So, ano yung mga risk factor ng pagkakaroon ng pelvic inflammation, inflammatory disease? yung mga unprotected sex. Okay, kasi yun yung nagdadala ng mga infections doon papasok sa female reproductive organ. Okay, so sexually transmitted diseases or STDs, so are generally acquired by having sexual contact. So ito yung mga common na mga infections na nakukuha in STDs. So we have chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, the HPV, herpes, trichomoniasis, and pubic lice. So sometimes this leads to development of HIV or AIDS. Now let's look into how menstruation and fertilization takes place. So let's watch this video presentation.
To understand the various ways that medical science can assist reproduction, it is important to understand how the reproductive system functions in both sexes, because the cause of infertility often lies equally with both men and women. The main players in the female reproductive cycle are the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. Their activities are closely coordinated. Each month, one or other ovary releases a single egg, an event known as ovulation. It is brought about by a series of complex interactions between the pituitary gland, the ovaries, and the uterus. The pituitary gland is itself under the control of this small area of the brain known as the hypothalamus. A new menstrual cycle begins when the nerve cells of this center secrete a hormone called gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, GnRH, into the network of blood vessels which surrounds the pituitary gland. Stimulated by pulses of gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, cells in the pituitary gland secrete another hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH. FSH travels in the bloodstream, reaching the ovaries. There it stimulates the formation and growth of an ovarian follicle in one or other ovary. The follicle consists of an egg, a number of surrounding cells which secrete estrogen hormones, and fluid. FSH helps the egg to mature and prepares it for release. As the follicle matures, the hypothalamus increases secretion of GnRH. This in turn stimulates the pituitary to secrete a second hormone which acts on the ovary. This is luteinizing hormone, or LH. Toward the middle of the cycle, there is a sudden peak in the blood level of LH. This acts as the trigger for ovulation. Within minutes of its release, the egg is guided by suction through the fringed opening of the outer end of the fallopian tube, starting it on a journey which will take 5 or 6 days as it passes down the tube and finally reaches the cavity of the uterus. Meanwhile, after the follicle ruptures, it is converted into this yellowish body known as the corpus luteum. Cells of the corpus luteum secrete the hormone progesterone, which brings about important changes in the lining of the uterus, preparing it for possible pregnancy. In fact, the lining of the uterus, known as the endometrium, undergoes changes in response to hormone levels during the cycle. In the first half of the cycle, known as the follicular phase, the developing follicle secretes increasing amounts of estrogen hormone, which encourages regeneration of the endometrium. After ovulation, there are important changes in the endometrium, aimed at making it suitable to receive a fertilized egg. These changes are brought about by a secretion of progesterone from the corpus luteum. The secretion of progesterone is maintained for several days, but if the egg is not fertilized in that time, the corpus luteum withers, and falling levels of progesterone and estrogen trigger the shedding of the uterine lining as the menstrual flow. The cycle then starts again. But if the egg is fertilized, no menstruation occurs, as the corpus luteum continues to function, secreting progesterone during the first 3 months of the pregnancy. Thereafter, numerous changes occur to support the developing embryo.
It was mentioned in the video that hormones play an important role in the process of reproduction in female. So hormones keep the reproductive system working properly. So as hormones are secreted, feedback mechanisms are being observed. So we have negative feedback and positive feedback. Positive feedback is observed when there is additional change in the same direction. For instance, you have substance A and substance B. An increase in substance A would lead to the increase in substance B. So that is a positive feedback. Then, negative feedback observed when there is a change in opposite direction. Halimbawa, you have secreted substance A, then substance B, magdi-decline yung kanyang concentration. So that's the negative feedback. These are the hormones that regulate the male reproductive system. First, we have the follicle stimulating hormone or FHS. So this hormone is secreted by the pituitary gland that stimulates the production of sperm cell or the spermatogenesis. Next, we have the luteinizing hormone that stimulates the production of testosterone in the testes. And next, we have the testosterone that stimulates the development of male secondary characteristics and spermatogenesis. When we say sex characteristics, na-mention natin kanina, katulad ng pag-develop ng mga Adam's apple, broadening of shoulders, yung pagkakaroon ng mustache, mga bigote. So, those are some of the examples of secondary characteristics. In this, you can see the feedback mechanism in the female reproductive system. It was mentioned in the video that the pituitary gland produces the FHS and the luteinizing hormone. As pituitary gland continue to secrete the follicle-stimulating hormone, it stimulates the production of estrogen from the ovaries. But then, as the estrogen level from the ovaries increases, it affects the production of FHS. Okay, so habang tumataas yung estrogen level, bumababa yung production ng FHS. Then, on the other hand, as the luteinizing hormone increases, okay, nag-i-stimulate siya ng production ng progesterone sa ovary. But then, as the progesterone increases, it affects the production of luteinizing hormone. So, pinapabagal niya yung production ng luteinizing hormone as well as nagbumababa yung production ng follicle-stimulating hormone. Those increase and decrease in the level of the hormones is known as a feedback mechanism. So, why is feedback mechanism important? Feedback loops are important because they allow living organisms to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is the mechanism that enables us to keep our internal environment relatively constant, not too hot or not too cold or not too hungry or not too tired. So, bale, yung feedback mechanism, siya yung nagbabalance ng lahat ng nangyayari sa ating katawan. So, that is very important for the survival of our species. To summarize it all, so the reproductive system is a group of organs that function together for sexual reproduction. It functions with the help of hormones secreted by the pituitary gland. Then, hormones keep the reproductive system properly working. Feedback mechanism is the process through which the level of one hormone influences the level of another hormone. So, this ends our lesson. I hope you have learned something. Thank you for being with me and be safe.